Hello and welcome to another episode of The Living Philosophy. Today we're going to talk about the Myers Briggs personality system, and in particular I want to address a common criticism of that personality typology system, because it's generally held that the Myers Briggs is a very inaccurate system, and while that may be true, I think the reasons given for it aren't actually accurate. Now, the criticism is that people can do a test one day and they can get one result, and then a year later or whatever they can do the test and it can show up different. So it seems that their personality type is changing, and so it's an unreliable measure. But I'd like to get into the reasons behind that, and it's because it is a certain misunderstanding there that like the test is what you are, and that's not really what is going on. So the test initially comes from, it was developed by, the system was developed by Isabella Myers Briggs and her mother Catherine Briggs, and these two together, they developed this system, and they'd really just built it out of Jung's psychological types book, and the only thing that they added was this P versus J letter at the end, which was actually just a way of pointing the other letter. So I'll post to another video where I actually explain how the Myers-Briggs system works and what those different letters mean. But they just added that little nuance to the end of it. And what Jung says when he's talking about these initial types is that they're preferences. So you have access to all of these different aspects, to all the different traits. But it's how it's which one you actually have a preference for, even if at different times you use other ones and you're living more in other ones. So let's say extroverted feeling is my secondary function, so I could be living in that for a certain period of time, but it's as a general thing, which one do I prefer? And that's the one that I generally prefer is introverted intuition. That's kind of where I always come back to, and that's really where I'm collecting information when I'm doing extroverted feeling, to come back to my introverted intuition world and start calculating all that together and start to think about what all that means. And so it's what is your preference. So even if I typed, and this is where the problem is that like I could do that test, and depending on what's true for me at that time, it could tell me that I'm an ENFP or an ENFJ or something, but it or even an INTJ. I think I've gotten that as well before. So it can go a few different ways, but it's when you actually look at it and don't just take the test at face value as this is what you are, because those tests are, I mean, they're just not infallible, and you really have to figure out what the test means and what the different letters mean, and then you do a personal kind of a appraisal of your own personality, and you figure out who you are. Now the test will often help you triangulate in on that, and it does help you kind of confirm it. And when you read the personalities, you can kind of see, oh, okay, I can see that in me, I can see that in me. Yeah, this is probably more me than that one. But it's really, you got to do that kind of introspection with it, and the tests, some of them can be so short, some of them can be so long, and I just don't have faith in the tests being fully bulletproof, and there's no trade for a genuine introspection and genuine kind of thinking about this and thinking about who you are. So yeah, I think that's just something that needs to be addressed out there, because when people kind of get disillusioned with it because they do the test and they get different results different times, that's more a remark on the test rather than on the system. With that being said, I'm not fully convinced by the system, but that's more because that's for much deeper reasons, where once you get really into Myers-Briggs, it becomes quite frustrating when you try and dig down into the individual different aspects. But that's I think that the claim that's generally laid against it is just a bit harsh, and I feel like it's based on the wrong problem with Myers-Briggs. There are problems with Myers-Briggs, but I think that's more a lack of introspection and a lack of understanding. Whereas, because a test is just like a silver bullet where you don't really have to understand it, you just do the test, it tells you what you are, it spits it out, and then you read the thing. But you need to kind of actually examine the different ones and figure out what you are in actuality. So I just thought I'd address that in a video today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments if you have any remarks or insights. And if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, and I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching.